Hi, today I'm going to discuss tax compliance matters for small businesses in the Philippines. So, for my disclaimer, the materials and information contained herein are intended for informational and educational purposes only and should not be regarded as a recommendation or a business advice. So, to start off, let's define who is a sole proprietor. A sole proprietor is an individual who runs the business by himself or herself. She or he has a discretion to add people to her team if she feels that the coverage of her business is expanding. But definitely, the number of persons involved could be less than 5 or even less than 10. There are advantages or disadvantages in putting up a sole proprietor type of business. So for the advantages, first, it's easier to set up and register. It requires small amount of capital. Regulations and monitoring requirements are simple. And finally, the registration to various regulatory groups are also very simple to follow. As regards to disadvantages, first, the business is always not going to profit all the time. Loss is inevitable. And if that happens, it is solely suffered or solely absorbed by the owner. Which means if the business cannot fully absorb the losses, the government may still run after the owner's personal assets. Second, since the main focus of putting up a business is to gain profit, there is effort to be exerted in order to meet that goal. And so if there's so much effort being exerted by the owner, it could lead, of course, definitely to exhaustion. Here you'll see the different groups wherein a single proprietor needs to register his or her business. First is the DTI or the Department of Trade and Industry. Second is registering it also to local government units such as the barangay and mayor's office. The third is the Bureau of Internal Revenue, or most commonly known as BIR. Fourth, if you have employees or the sole proprietor has an employees, he or she needs to also register them to the following government agencies such as SSS, PhilHealth, and Pag-ibig. So to start off in complying with DTI requirements, first, there is already an assumption that the owner has already chosen a strategic location for the business. That's very important. Second, before going or registering the business to DTI, be ready with at least 3 to 5 business names, and also try to pre-research if the names that had been chosen has no similar name that can be found in a DTI website or database. Because if there is, it's best to find another name so you will be able to comply with at least the minimum 3 to 5 business name requirements. So in here is a tabular guide in registering the business to DTI. We have here enumerated the procedure, the estimated time of registration, and even the estimated cost. So when you go to the DTI, your main intent is to register your business name. So that being said, you have to accomplish the business name registration form. And having said that, at least you already had acquired your tax identification number from BIR. This is free. And then part of the registration, you also have to indicate at least 5 business names, and you have to rank them according to your preference. Now, in terms of obtaining your certificate of registration from DTI, at least allot 1 week or less for waiting for that certificate due to the current situation. As regards to the estimated cost in the registration, if you're covered by the national, you have to pay 2,000. If it's regional, it's 1,000. If it's for city, it's 500. In terms of the barangay fees, it could be as low as 200, or it could be also as high as 2,000 to 5,000. It really depends. And while registering your business to the DTI is paying to all these groups, there is also a need to pay the corresponding documentary stamp tax as required by law. Here you can see the upper front sheet of the application form for the DTI, which the applicant needs to fill out, whether this is for new or for renewal. So a more exhaustive complete listing can be found in their DTI website. So you may ask, who can or who may apply for a business? First, we have to consider the age of the business owner. He or she must have reached the legal age of 18 years old. Second, that person is allowed to do business in the Philippines under a business name. Third, that person is not disqualified by any existing law and regulation to engage in the business. If you want to know more details with regard to the registration, go to www.dti.com.ph. So, where can you register again the business name? Online, you can go to www.bnrs.dti.gov.ph. Fill out the application form and then follow the instruction with regard to the payment of the fees. It could be to the nearest DTI field office, or they could have already nominated banks wherein you can pay it online, and then wait for the certificate to be printed. In order to claim the certificate, you have to also present the duly accomplished form with signature, plus a photocopy of the receipt that you had indeed paid the registration fee. And on top of that, you also have to bring with you at least 2 national IDs within 2 working days to claim your certificate. Finally, if there is such thing as opening a business and registering them to DTI, but in case it happens that it didn't go well and the business has to close down, we cannot just abandon the initial registration we had with DTI. We had to also formally close the registered name or registered business name at the DTI. So here are the steps. If you're the business owner who would like to accomplish these things, these are the things that you have to complete. You have to prepare a letter request signed by, of course, the owner. Second, you have to also provide an affidavit of cancellation of the business name. You also have to state the reasons for the cancellation and also include the attestation that the registered owner has no outstanding financial obligation at the time of the closure of the establishment. Third, you also have to present and surrender the original copy of the certificate and duplicate copy of the application form. So I hope you learned something from this, and see you in my next video.